All right. So, is this working? You don't always say that. No. Yes. Sorry. Amateur, and yet, I got people asking me to do more of these like podcast things. And I got people asking me to do like much longer podcast things. And I guess we'll go halfway on that. Yeah, I'll do a few of those. And then, but I'm not going to do them long. I mean, I think I've seen too much evidence in my life of like people who implode by talking too much, and not just on like YouTube and stuff like that. But I mean, so there. So we'll keep these short. Keep these short. We'll try to knock out like maybe three things at a time. Although I guess it's going to turn out I have four things today. We're going to talk about more things that are disappearing from the internet and from your media consumption. But I also wanted to add one thing that reappeared. One thing that reappeared. It's this shirt that I'm wearing here. It is a combination of course, Mickey Mouse, which everybody I'm sure recognizes, but also the cover of the Joy Division album, Unknown Pleasures. And I don't know if you know, like Joy Division, but the Joy Division was the name of where the Nazi men went to take sexual advantage of the women being kept in concentration camps and things like that. They picked the most attractive women in concentration camps and then set up something called Joy Division, and that was where the Nazis went to find their joy, I guess. So what this shirt came out the couple days actually after it came out that Disney was working with the Chinese government to make Mulan, and was doing it in an area where there were concentration camps, and they actually I think shot on the concentration camp areas and thanked the concentration camp at the end of Mulan. So that was, just like one other disgraceful moment in the parade of disgraceful moments out of the Rat Kingdom. Basically, I mean, since before Bobby Igor took over, but it's just gotten worse under him because he's such a horrible, horrible half-human being. So my story on this front is, this got a lot of coverage when it first came out, when it first appeared. I bought it right away. I bought like 5 of them, actually. I bought 5 of these shirts because I knew there was no way Disney was going to let it last. So I bought 5 of them right away. I got 5. I gave one to my daughter, one to my son, a couple to a friend, or one to a friend, and kept 2 for myself. Disney, of course, swooped right in. They canceled it. It was taken down. It was gone for a very long time. And I meant to, I was going to include it today on things that had been canceled or disappeared from the internet. But as it turns out, it's back on the internet and it's being sold on one website only. This shirt is being now sold again to the public, but only on one website, which tells me that Disney is getting a piece of it. Disney struck a deal with this website, and Disney, sure, they'll take a chunk even if you're implying that Disney are modern day Nazis sending people to concentration camps. I wouldn't say that, but that's what the shirt suggests. Although I guess I'm wearing the shirt, so you can do that. Do with that what you will. But now it's back, so it's back. So while we're on Disney, we'll now hit the first of 3 things that have disappeared because it's indisputable. This one is happening. I even looked on the internet. Yep, everybody acknowledges it, and yet it's still happening. So, Jim Steranko, very creative guy. He didn't create Nick Shield, but he did turn Nick Shield into his cool spy persona. Nick Fury, agent of Shield. Not Nick Shield. Nick Fury, agent of Shield. Nick Fury, agent of Shield. Sorry. Right. I do know these things. Okay, thanks. And Jim Steranko is one of the most creative guys ever to have worked in comics. Maybe not the most creative guy, but he's definitely top 10 and probably top 5. I could argue, I don't know too many of these new talents that popped up in the past, 20 years. I think Paul Pope is probably up there. Anyway, I'm digressing. Boom, let's get back to it. Disney Marvel is taking Jim Steranko's name off of all of the Captain America comic books that he worked on in the 60s that really changed the Captain America persona in the 1960s. And Disney Marvel is putting Stan Lee's name on all of those Captain America comics. It used to be a shared credit now, and actually Stan Lee didn't really do much of anything with them. Jim Steranko was doing almost all of the work on it. Um, and Stan Lee has acknowledged this. Stan, before he died, I mean, he said, "Yeah, I didn't work on like any of those issues. Those are all Jim Steranko." So like, this isn't even a question. But now Disney's taking Steranko's name off of all of the Captain America books in the 60s. And my conspiracy theory is because Disney hopes someday to maybe use those storylines in a movie or one of their garbage Disney Plus TV shows or their garbage movies. Let's face it, the Disney Marvel movies have been garbage for a very long time now. And they don't want to give Jim Steranko credit for that story. But they do have agreements with Stan Lee. So at some point, they're just laying the groundwork for ripping off Jim Steranko because, they're parasites. Disney Marvel are parasites. They really do not have a creative idea like in their entire rodent body, do they? They're just going to keep ripping people off, re-vomiting out their animated movies as live action movies. So anyway, Jim Steranko, just to say, like, he did stuff nobody else did before. Like, he would do not just like 2-page action splashes, he would do like 4-page action splashes. Like, you got 2 pages there, and then those 2 pages are continued on these 2 pages. Which was actually a pretty smart capitalist thing because, there's always like comic book junkies who are going to go buy it twice. So they could do that whole, whoa, wow. That wasn't me. I never did stuff like that. So I could keep talking about that. Jim Steranko actually moved on to advertising and worked with some really great advertising agencies and did some movie posters, but already this is too long. This is probably going to be more than 10 minutes. But anyway, all that stuff has disappeared. Nobody's denying it's disappearing. Nobody's doing anything about it. Strange. Second one, and this one can be short. Someone contacted me earlier this week, like, hey, how do I get a copy of the unedited, unexpurgated Bloodlines of the Illuminati book written by Fritz Springmeier? And then if you go on my Substack earlier, you'll find that I have interviewed Fritz Springmeier, author of Bloodlines of the Illuminati and How to Create a Mind-Controlled Sex Slave, and like some really crazy books. You can't get his book online anymore. We used to be able to. Pentrax was the only place that sold like the 1,000-page Bloodlines of the Illuminati book. I did not know initially, in fact, not until I interviewed Fritz Springmeier, that the Bloodlines of the Illuminati book that's on the CIA website and that you can buy in various forms on Amazon and elsewhere is not the full book. It's a truncated book. It kind of hits the main bloodlines, but it doesn't really go into detail about the subsidiary bloodlines and then tracing them through history and then all that stuff, because you got like the 13 top bloodlines, and then underneath them, there's like each one of those has got 13. I mean, I could go on and on, whatever. Anyway, if anybody knows where you can buy Fritz Springmeier's full like tome of the Bloodlines of the Illuminati book that I think was like $50, let me know. Because right now you can't find it. All right, that's 2. 3, how much time I got left? All right, probably not 10 minutes, but not much more than 10 minutes. Let's talk about this strange situation with this TV show. Okay? Obviously, it's called Undermined. I had never really heard about it until, I don't know, past year maybe. And the reason I heard about it or learned about it was because one of the 2 stars is an actress I really dig from the 60s, actually, named Rosemary Nichols. And she played the computer genius in the 1969-1970s espionage series Department S that made Jason Peter Weingard as Jason King. Okay, just wanted to clear that up. I knew that too. Just, Amateur mistake. Oh, you know what? Well, I got you here. Here's Rosemary Nichols, circa 1968. And look, over here we have, for the numerologist and such, the 77. Just to show how special she is. Okay, back to the main thing here. The most famous actor in the world for about 18 months as Jason King. So I dig Rosemary Nichols. She got a lot going for her that I like. And I saw that she was in this other show called Undermine that only ran for 11 episodes in 1965 when she was 25, even younger, 5 years younger than she was in Department S. And so I found it on Amazon. I found a PAL version, PAL version, which means you can only watch it on DVDs that are suited for region free, or in this case, region 2, which my DVD player, in fact, I didn't even really have a DVD player at this point. I just got rid of it. But I bought one. I bought one to watch this because it was kind of intriguing, actually, once I discovered what it was. So what this show is about is illustrious members of the British establishment, or the underlying backbone of a healthy society, somehow having their minds changed somehow. They're made colder. They lose their sympathy, their empathy. They just become robotic, actually, which is kind of interesting. And the 11-episode arc follows Rosemary Nichols as the wife of this detective who is afflicted with this thing in the first episode and becomes very cold to her and her children, their children, and actually tries to murder her by the end of the episode. And as it turns out, just from reading the synopses, what's going on here is either a alien invasion where they are taking over the consciousness of important members of society in order to destroy it from within, or B, it is the sonar waves that are being sent by unknown government figures to do the same thing, or an enemy government to undermine the British government. That's what I've been able to discern from what I've read about this series and the the 2 episodes I've been able to watch, which gets us to the thing that I wanted, like where things are going to start to get odd. Okay, first of all, I literally bought like a universal DVD player in order to watch this show. Okay, and it wasn't expensive. I bought it for like $35 on Amazon, and I was able to watch the first 2, and then it stopped working. I just couldn't watch any more. Which was weird. And so in the first episode, and they're weird episodes in the sense that, like, tonality, they change completely. The first one is like very serious and kind of spooky. And then the second one is much more light-hearted, almost like an Avengers episode, kind of like goofy sci-fi, kind of. So in the first episode, we just find this detective, who we think is going to be the hero at first, actually has become this cold, robotic, unempathetic guy, and his wife is wondering what's going on, and she contacts the detective's brother, and they start investigating, and they find out some weird stuff. And as she finds it out, the detective realizes she's figuring it out, tries to strangle her or kill her at the end, and he is stopped, and he himself is killed. And so then the wife and the brother team up to start investigating stuff. That's the end of the first episode. And in the second episode, they get to the seaside resort town that has become chaotic through rock and roll rebels and other people bringing chaos to this small, peaceful seaside town. And in this episode, they are basically showing how the youth is being undermined. They're being undermined. The youth is being undermined to rebel against society. Those are the first two episodes. The only ones I've been able to watch because after that my thing stopped playing. Would not play any more of these Region 2s. I did go and throw in an old Hawaii 5.0 Region 1. It played fine. So maybe this thing is just a hunk of junk. Could be. In any event, I did, however, glance through like what my upcoming episodes of Undermined are going to look like if I ever get to watch them. And it's pretty wild, especially for 1965. In one of them, children's book authors are being undermined by this either alien or government sonar force. Children's books, so to subvert like tykes, little kids. In another one, call girls are being undermined in order to seduce people, government workers, powerful people, and turn over evidence like a honeypot, like Epstein. Pretty crazy, right? And in another one, top doctors in the country are being undermined in order to force medical treatments and such. I didn't see vaccines. I only read a one-sentence description of this. But I thought that was pretty crazy. Oh, and also the other doctors that are trying to out the bad doctors, they're being undermined to commit suicide in this episode. And then in another episode, washed up actors and comedians are being undermined and used to like corrupt society in that sort of way. So that's just like 4, I guess 6, considering the 2 I've already seen episodes in Undermined that I've looked into. So that certainly seems like a show that was ahead of its time, right? 1965. Wow. 60 years ago. 60. Okay, so it's going to get weirder now. And you know what? This thing is really going on. Yeah, 17 minutes, but I'll cut some out. So as I was researching, like what the heck's going on? Well, how do I get this to like play, Region 2? I went back to the Amazon page, if I could contact the folks who sold it to me, to look into it, and it was weird. All of the copies of Undermine are gone. They're all gone. You can't buy them anymore. And Amazon says they don't know when it will ever be available again. So that's weird, right? I mean, I showed Undermined, just the cover, nothing else, at the beginning of one of my recent podcasts. Didn't a ton of people see that and buy it? Because when I had bought this, it wasn't cheap. And there were a lot. It wasn't cheap, and now it's gone. And I can't watch it. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, we'll close with this. And I'm just going to keep saying this and keep saying this and keep saying this. I don't care what you do not believe about the Charlie Kirk public murder. All I care about is that you don't believe the official story.